Welcome back to Normal Baseball. The American League Championship Series between the Yankees and the Guardians is right around the corner, just a few hours away. We're here to preview the entire thing for you. Welcome back to Normal Baseball. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And Lewis, we have the ALCS, the final series before the World Series for the two American League teams who made it. The Cleveland Guardians, who beat out the Detroit Tigers in the ALDS, and the New York Yankees, who beat out the Kansas City Royals in the ALDS. This is going to be one hell of a matchup. It's the first time they've faced off in the playoffs since 2022, which was a very heated series with the Josh Naylor rocking the baby to sleep. And it's the first time they're going to face each other since then in the playoffs. Lewis, are you excited for this matchup?
Oh, I'm excited. The thing that I'm most excited about is the fact that there has been a feud for so long with these teams. Even when you date back to Lindor being on the former Indians, now Guardians, like there's always been a beef. And whether it just be strictly based on on-field play or like we saw in 2022, the fans getting involved and things being thrown at players, like this is going to be a very heated series and I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Yeah, so why don't we get right into it? Big part of the Yankees strategy here, or a big part of the Yankees team build all season, has been their incredibly strong lineup. Guys like Judge, Soto, Stanton, Volpe even. You had Rizzo. They may have Rizzo. How do they match up against this Guardians lineup, who's really, really pesky? They have a very pesky lineup. I mean, if you look at a guy like Steven Kwan, he went 11 for 21 in the ALDS, which is amazing. So how do you think that the Yankees lineup stacks up against the Guardians lineup?
So in terms of just obviously the players that we're talking about, the stars of New York will always shine brighter than those of Cleveland. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. When you have a guy like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto batting in the middle of your lineup, you have the better lineup. And it's that simple. However, I do think the Guardians, in all seriousness, might have the edge going into this ALCS.
Get out.
And I only say that because the Yankees are deciding to start Carlos Rodon, game one, a lefty. Historically, for this season, the 2024 MLB season, both regular season and playoffs, the Guardians have hit left-handed pitching a lot better. We're talking like they have an almost 800 OPS against lefties,
right,
and a just above 600 OPS against righties.
But we're not talking about just game one. Game one's not the only game of this series. This is a 7-game series we're talking about here. I think it's hard not to give this Yankees lineup the edge when you have guys like Soto, and even Soto and Judge. I get that the Guardians have Jose Ramirez. I get that they have Steven Kwan. I get that they maybe match up, have a better first base guy with Josh Naylor, but I don't think David Fry's better than Giancarlo Stanton, especially when you look at Giancarlo Stanton's playoff stats. Giancarlo Stanton, career playoffs, is a 987 OPS player. And in the series against the Royals, he went 6 for 16. He was pretty much the main source of offense from the Yankees in that series. I think if the biggest thing for me, at least, that makes this Yankees lineup so much better than the Guardians lineup is Aaron Judge. And then that brings you to the question of, can Aaron Judge break out of this narrative that he can't perform in the postseason, and can he have a good series in the ALCS?
It's a tough ask because historically Judge has been the one guy on the Yankees that time and time again disappears when the lights get brighter, which sucks because Aaron Judge during the regular season is the best hitter in baseball. Hands down, bar none, there's no one better than him. And I will die on that hill. I think the thing with the postseason is that players and pitchers and everybody see, like, listen, if we can neutralize Judge, Giancarlo will not have a runner on. We can limit the damage there. Like, I understand the thought of never giving Aaron Judge a pitch to hit, and time again, every year we say, oh, he's matured now. Like, we know he's not going to keep on doing the same old chasing balls outside the zone. but then he does it every time. I'm hoping that, if there's a time to change your bad habits, right now is the best time possible for Judge because let's be honest, this is their best chance to make the World Series.
Right, but it sounds like a broken record at this point. You can say it every single series. You could say it starting in every single game. Aaron Judge needs to turn it around. Then it becomes okay, well, let's see it happen. I know he had a double in the series against the Royals, but he still went 2 for 13. That's not going to cut it. You can't just rely on Giancarlo Stanton to carry the team to the World Series. Juan Soto's been good. Gleyber Torres has been good. Whoever they have starting at first base has been good. That rotation of Ben Rice, Oswaldo Cabrera, and John Birdie, they've been good. But Judge just brings this all together. And I think if Judge is clicking, this team clears that Guardians lineup. Even with the Guardians pitching with their great bullpen, which we'll get into, I think they clear.
You have to remember, though, that's a big what if because, the numbers are not on the side of Aaron Judge will turn around all of a sudden.
It is a big what if. And I know I said, it sounds like a broken record at this point. What if, when will. But you still have to remember, at the end of the day, it's Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
There's no reason, even with the playoff performances being bad, in my opinion, there's no reason to ever expect that he is not going to play well. There's never a reason to say I think Aaron Judge is going to have a bad series. In my opinion, that's just an outlandish comment, no matter how bad he's been in the playoffs. I think that you could just never say that. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. Like you said you'll die on the hill if he's the best hitter in baseball.
Right, in the regular season.
I understand that. But you can't say you expect him to have a bad series. I just don't think that's
No, I'm
right.
hoping that he does not, but I think if you have to be realistic, you have to say he's going to probably hit about 200.
But why is that what makes that realistic? Just because of his
postseason career average numbers.
But that doesn't mean that he's just going to play to his averages.
No,
I don't think that you should expect a 200 batting average from the best hitter in baseball. You know what I mean?
All right. So let me finish a sentence here. Realistically, I expect him to probably hit around 200. Would I love if he hits higher? Of course. He'll probably have a homer or two, and he'll have a boatload of walks. That's what I expect. And every time that he's not walking or hitting a homer, I assume he probably struck out. That is just what history has shown me from Aaron Judge in the playoffs.
Okay. Anyway, moving over to the Guardians. Josh Naylor's been really good. And I mentioned, Stephen Kwan played a really good series. Lane Thomas went crazy. He had those 2 really big home runs. He had the 3-run homer in Game 1 against the Tigers, and then he had that grand slam in Game 5 that kind of put the game away for good. It felt like, at least.
Batting .316 in the postseason is impressive, especially considering that
through one series.
Tigers bullpen is no joke, and they had 2 games against Struble. Solid.
Yeah, no, it is solid. But it's kind of the same thing. It's a little different, but for the Guardians, you need your stars to show up too. I know Stephen Kwan's been showing up. He's one of their main stars. But Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor did not play well in the DS. Jose Ramirez did not play well in the DS. He went 3 for 16. So if those guys show up, you can't be relying on Lane Thomas to hit 316 again. He very well can. He could hit 400. He could hit 500. But you can't be relying on that. You need your big guys. I think they need their big guys to show up. Specifically Josh Naylor and Jose Ramirez.
I could not agree with you more. That's exactly what I wrote down here. I wrote that, this Guardians offense is only going to go as far as Jose Ramirez can take them.
Right.
Because Jose Ramirez, let's be real, is in the same boat as Aaron Judge they are the engine of the offense.
Right. And I think Jose Ramirez, if you're going to go by your logic before, he is historically, he can explode in a playoff series.
Yeah.
Just because he plays bad in one series doesn't mean it's a playoff thing. I get similar to Aaron Judge. Again, this guy can explode at any given moment. And I think it's the same with Aaron Judge. He just hasn't done it yet. He's done it to some extent, but not recently. Jose Ramirez, throughout his career, has been able to explode in the playoffs during a series. And I think the Guardians really need him to do so if they want to have a decent shot at scoring a lot of runs, getting the upper
Oh
hand.
yeah. And the beautiful thing about the Guardians lineup is that they have guys that can do it all. Like we saw David Fry hitting a go-ahead pinch hit 3-run homer,
Yeah,
and then
that was clutch.
the next at bat suicide squeeze
Yeah,
or safety squeeze, whatever the hell it's called. Like that's crazy. Lane Thomas, we already mentioned. Stephen Kwan, we already talked about. And honestly, if their only bat that's really missing is Josh Naylor, if there's a time for him to wake up, I could see it being against the Yankees just because of all the beef that they've had back and forth over the years. The lineup can get scary, and the scariest part about the lineup is that even if a Yankee pitcher, a starter, and a combination of relievers holds them to, let's just say, 2 runs, the Guardians bullpen can allow them to win that game 2-1.
yeah,
That's the scary part.
yeah. I mean, that Guardians bullpen. I mean, if we want to get to it, I did just really quickly want to mention, in addition to Jose Ramirez, you also have a guy like Andres Jimenez, who could be really good, but he went 3 for 18 in the DS. So he's just
Yeah.
he's just another guy that they would like to get started. I think the only real big disparity other than the outfield in this series, like when it comes to hitting, is the catcher position. The Yankees have significantly better hitters behind the plate, but
Austin Wells.
going back to that Guardians defense, bullpen rather, they have been amazing. They had the best bullpen in the regular season, like the lowest ERA. Obviously, Emmanuel Clase was lights out all season, but in the DS, they didn't it didn't feel that way. They had their highs and they had their lows. It wasn't all just shut down. So again, yeah, you mentioned they can have a 2-run lead and go to the bullpen and be confident that they're going to win that game, even with just the 2-run lead. But it didn't seem that way in the DS. Like Clase had his ups and his downs again. He gave up a 3-run home run to Kerry Carpenter, the one that lost them game 2, and he gave up another run in the outing after that, I believe. But then he had a 6-out save to close out the series. So there were a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So which form of the Guardians bullpen do you think they're going to get against the Yankees?
I think it's going to be the lockdown just because of the situation. I feel like this Guardians bullpen has that we don't give a fuck attitude. They're using guys like Hunter Gaddis. Like, let's be real. If I said to you on opening day, Hunter Gaddis will be a key piece for a bullpen, you would look at me and laugh. Like, not to say that his numbers are bad.
Pitched in
It's
78 games today.
right.
This year.
It's just not the guy that you would expect to be like, wow, we need a bridge guy, to set up for our closer. Someone call up Hunter Gaddis.
Well, they have a lot of. That's the biggest thing with this bullpen is they have a lot of underrated guys. Underrated in the sense of maybe not everyone knows their names. Like they're not household
That's
names.
The beauty of Cleveland Guardians baseball.
Right, but like a guy like Hunter Gaddis, who had 78 appearances this year and a 1.57 ERA. Like I don't know if there's many people that would be able to say that Hunter Gaddis had a under 2 ERA in close to 80 games this year. Like people just don't know. But this bullpen is completely dominant. And I think it has a big potential to be dominant against the Yankees, who are pretty notorious, I'd say. I mean, let me know if you agree or disagree. They're pretty notorious for getting shut down by pitching staffs. And once they start to get shut down, it gets worse really quick. Mm-hmm. Like, once they get shut down, they just look lost at a point.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I am going to rebuttal and say that, yes, although that statement is historically accurate based on who the Yankees have been since, the Judge era started, since that 2017 season, the difference between all of those teams and this team going into the ALCS is that they have a guy that can go out there every time his at-bat is up, and it does not matter what happened in the last 15 at-bats for him. It does not matter what happened in the last 25 at-bats for him. And that guy's Juan Soto.
That's true.
Soon-to-be $600 million man. The probably, third best hitter in baseball during this regular season like was just absolutely insane when you talk about all of the stuff that he was able to do both like at the plate, like all the stuff that he was able to do at the plate, including like the walk numbers and the on base percentage. Just I think that's going to be the difference maker. If we see Soto go 0 for 4 with 4 Ks, then the Yankees need to hit the panic button and they need to do something. But until that happens, I am not going to count the Yankees out of a game. And I think that's a very fair statement to make.
Yeah, we've seen Juan Soto definitely play a difference maker in a postseason team in the past. He does
Hell,
it
he even did it this season on the Yankees.
right.
We can go back. Look at when they played the Giants. They were down by 2 going into the top of the ninth. What did Soto do?
The
Hits a go-ahead
Giants?
3-run homer. Yes, the San Francisco Giants. Was it not a go-ahead 3-run homer?
Well, I thought you were talking about the postseason.
Like, no, I'm just giving like examples that I can remember off the top of my head. He had a 2-homer game in the Bronx against the Red Sox, I'm pretty sure. Like, that's a difference maker. And I think that genuinely will give the Yankees an edge that the Guardians in years past have not seen.
I think the difference maker for Juan Soto, in addition to the home runs, I mean, obviously the home runs are difference maker type stuff, but he doesn't even need to be hitting home runs. He doesn't even need to be hitting extra base hits to be a difference maker. He could go 0 for 0 with 5 walks in a game. That is just as much of a difference maker as, well, maybe not as much of a difference maker as a go-ahead home run, but that's giving them almost the same opportunities. He's getting on base as much as he possibly can. He's getting on base a lot at that rate. He's giving you so many opportunities to hit him in, and that's all you can ask for. I mean,
right, but the whole reason why I mentioned that is because
I'm not disagreeing.
This Yankees,
I'm not disagreeing.
Right. I'm just adding on to my statement here is that this Yankee lineup tends to be one of those like, oh my God, we struck out 7 times our first go around. Like we're deflated. Soto's not that type of guy. Like that's such an important factor of this Yankee lineup that Juan Soto does not care. He will go into every at bat like it's his first day being in the big leagues and he wants to make a statement. And that's what I love about him.
First day being in the big leagues? Fair enough.
You know what I mean? Like with that attitude, the swagger of like, yeah, I'm here, like let's do this. Like that's what Soto steps into the box with every time. And I think that's fair to say. Ugh.
It is fair to say. Where I get worried, especially for the Guardians, is the starting pitching in this matchup. The Guardians pitching staff, Alcs Cobb, Tanner Bybee, Matthew Boyd. I mean, I'm assuming Matthew Boyd's going to start game 3. It's definitely Alcs Cobb and then Tanner Bybee for games 1 and 2. That is not – that doesn't strike fear. That wouldn't strike fear into my heart.
Yeah, especially because on the other side, you have Carlos Rodon in game 1 and then Garrett Cole in game 2.
It's
like
and even
severe disadvantage.
Even if you want to look at it a different way, the Yankees have a set rotation. They know who they're going to. And even if the Guardians do have that set rotation of, like, we know we're going Cobb, Bybee, Boyd, it's a 3-man rotation. And I know they have a great bullpen, but when you can't rely on your starters to be as locked down as, a Garrett Cole could be or a Carlos Rodon could be. Even Clark Schmidt, we saw him in the previous series against the Royals, played really well, pitched really well in the game that he pitched. When you can't rely on your starters and you're just relying on your bullpen, eventually your bullpen's going to tire out. And especially in a 7-game series, that's not usually the method you can rock with. Usually in the playoffs, we've seen it a lot. It's you arguably rely on more starters than relievers most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, for any team in baseball, especially these 2 teams remaining, the more you show a reliever, the better the odds get for the hitters. That's just what it feels like. The Yankees and Guardians are 2 teams that have very, very good lineups. So that is what I feel like will happen. If I'm the Guardians right now, one, personally, just want to say, Shane Bieber, I miss you. It would be a lot more fun to see him instead of Alcs Cobb pitching game 1. 2, I think that the Guardians pitching staff should be, I feel like the approach should change each time through the lineup. And that is just from a strategy standpoint of if that, if let's just say first go around, it's like, let's get fastballs high. and then you change it up second go around. It's like, okay, breaking ball stuff low. Like they just got to figure out something where they can throw the Yankee lineup off their balance a little bit, because like I said before, times past, the Yankee lineup tends to deflate. Juan Soto's just one guy in of the nine. If you can get through him, I feel like you can get through everybody else. Is that fair?
That is fair. He's certainly, if you're talking about getting on base and the toughest guys to get out, yes, you have Aaron Judge. But again, like we mentioned in the playoffs, he's been a little cold. He can explode, but going into the series, you're not saying he's the biggest threat right this second. You'd say Juan Soto's the biggest threat right this second. Maybe Giancarlo Stanton. But to just simply get on base, you're thinking Juan Soto. We need to prevent this guy from getting on base, and that significantly increases our chance of winning.
Totally.
But again, I think it's tough with that rotation not being set in stone. And as for the Yankees, you really need a good start out of Carlos Rodon in Game 1.
I expect it to be a pitcher's duel until the bullpens get to. Like, even if it's just like a 1-1, 2-1 game, like in the playoffs with those two lineups and those two pitchers, that's a pitcher's duel. And I'm all in for that. Let's do that. That'll be fun.
One thing that I found interesting was I was looking up, I wanted to just see what the Yankee starters did against the Guardians this season specifically. Garrett Cole, Clark Schmidt, and Luis Heel all pitched against the Guardians this year. Cole and Heel were in the same series in August, and Schmidt was like in the beginning of the season in April. Clark Schmidt gave up had 5 walks. Garrett Cole had 5 walks, and Luis Heel had 6 walks. I just found it interesting that all of them happened to have insanely high walk numbers against the Guardians. I don't know if there's a correlation there. The Guardians don't really walk a lot as a team. They were like the 20th on the list of team walks in baseball. I don't know if there's a correlation there. Is there something with the Yankees pitching staff that they see and they're more patient, they're able to wait it out more? Or is it just happened to be that they were walking a lot that day? I don't know. I just found that interesting when I was looking through.
I don't know. I do know one thing of that last time we saw Garrett Cole go up against the Guardians. We were there. One hit shutout. You know,
it's true.
Yankees. Garrett Cole, Hill, Luke
That
Weaver.
Was the 5 walks game.
Yeah, that was 5 walks, but
no earned.
At the end of the day, no one came around to score.
Correct. Even with Clark Schmidt, 1 earned.
Right. I think if you're the Yankees pitching staff, your goal is to just limit the runs. Who gives a shit about the 90 feet in between each base? As long as that last 90 feet is never achieved, you're in the green.
Yeah.
Like, just, count your blessings. Who cares about how many men got on? Who cares about the fact, they might have had 40 plate appearances, but if you only allowed 1 run, you take that to the bank and cash it. It's that simple.
100%. 100%. So, Lewis, let me just ask you to round this thing out. Who you got? What's your prediction for the series?
I thought about it a lot, and I genuinely think it's Yanks in 6. Let's do it.
I had the exact same prediction. I think Yanks in 6.
Whoa. Okay, I'm changing mine to Guards in 7.
That's crazy.
Just to be different.
That's crazy.
I'm kidding. I want to stay with my prediction, by the way. That was pure joke.
We're on the same page. Yanks in 6.
We certainly are.
We'll see.
It'll be a great 6.
It's going to be a dogfight of a series, regardless. I mean, both of these teams have fire in them. Both of these teams have fight. I'm excited to see what Jazz Chisholm Jr. can do for the Yankees. He is CEO of Vibes on that team. So if he's playing well, it raises the morale tenfold.
Yankee fans have been calling for him to be traded to the Yankees for like a season and a half, and now that it happened, Yankee fans just fall in love with him every game. It's pretty cool.
I mean, alternatively, for the other side, it feels like that's kind of what Josh Naylor is for the Guardians. So we'll see.
Josh Naylor's always been a Vibes guy.
Exactly. We'll see who lights fire, what happens, and I'm excited.
Here's one question for you that I had thought of.
One question to close it out.
Yeah. What pitcher, starter or reliever, do you think will have the best performance throughout this series?
I think no matter what way you look at it, you can make the argument for Luke Weaver on the Yankees, especially if you think the Yankees are going to win in 6
Mhm.
or even 7. But I'm going to have to go with Emmanuel Clase. I think anytime you see him on the mound, no one's getting on.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think
I like that.
I think I'd say that he may not give up any base runners anytime he's on the mound this season. This
Would not
series.
surprise me.
So I'm gonna go with Class A is gonna have the best overall performance throughout the series from a pitcher.
All right. All right. I like that. I like that. I personally, by the way, am going to be going with Carlos Rodon just because if the series does go to game 6, like we both predicted to, Rodon's getting 2 starts in. And I genuinely think that he needs to be the lockdown guy, especially because he's starting game 1.
You know, that's fair enough. Game 1 sets the tone.
Game 1 sets the tone, baby.
So you got to be locked in, dialed in for game 1, and we'll see if Carlos Rodon is. So that's it for now. We'll get back to you throughout either maybe the first or second game. After the first or second game of the series, we'll definitely be back, talk about it, recap it a little bit, and see what it's going to look like moving forward from there. But for now, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment who you think is going to win the series and answers to any of the questions we asked. And we will see you guys in the next one. A peace.